the Oculus Quest 2 software gets updated, and in this case it was in the form of the V32 update. Now each of these updates always brings something new to the table for the Oculus Quest 2 software, or actually fix older problems. And some of these updates were so significant as adding in hand tracking, or like the last update, adding in pass-through AR games. And also in this update, there are many new things and changes that came to the Oculus Quest 2. The first one being that your friends from Facebook and Oculus are now combined in one tab. Now this means that this update will create a combined friend list across both Oculus and Facebook. And this will allow you to find, join, and chat with both your Facebook and Oculus friends in the same place. And you can find this under the tab People in Messenger. Now previously, you always had to switch between your Oculus and your Facebook profile. Of course, this was already possible with just a single click, but now it's all combined into one, and you don't have to switch profiles all the time. Another important thing is that both your Facebook and your Oculus friends will still remain separate. So that means that your Oculus friends still can see, for example, your Facebook profile or activities unless you separately add them as your friends on Facebook as well. And of course the other way around as well. Your Facebook friends cannot see who your Oculus friends are or what you are doing on your Oculus Quest 2, unless you also add them on your Oculus friend list. Now another thing that is changing with this update is Oculus Move. Now Oculus Move is normally a built-in activity tracker that normally tracks how much calories you burn, how much you're moving, and it tries to represent this in a nice overview. Now with the V32 update, the Oculus Move will get a slight overhaul. And by doing so, it will change how calorie goals and move minutes work and how they are actually presented. Now once this update rolls out, Oculus Move will ask you how many days you actually want to work out per week, and the Move calendar will then show you weekly workout achievements to make tracking progress way easier. An example of this you can see on screen right now, when you can exactly see on which days you did achieve your goals and on which days you did not. Oculus Move has also changed its suggested calorie goals and move per minutes that were normally preset by the Oculus system itself. And this is because it will make it more achievable to reach these goals, especially for new Oculus Quest 2 users. Now because of the Facebook integration with the Oculus Quest 2, Oculus Move will also let you share your workout stats on Facebook. And this can be done across groups, Messenger, or on your Facebook timeline itself. Now this V32 update also makes sharing and downloading media less of a hassle. And this is because your Quest will now automatically sync your saved local media files to your Oculus mobile app that is on your phone. And this should make it a lot easier to browse and download, but also share things like in-game captured videos or images. Now to use this, there will be a synced media section under the device tab in the app. And this will show you all the synced media from your Oculus app for the last 14 days. But after 2 weeks, the media will be removed from your mobile device, but it will stay on your headset. So keep that in mind. And another thing that came with this update was the in-headset app gifting. Now, until now, it was only possible to gift someone an app through the Oculus Store by using a browser or using the mobile app itself. But with this update, you can also gift someone an app within the headset itself. And this is kind of nice because it makes it so much easier to surprise someone with, let's say, a Beat Saber game for their birthday and put a nice message with it. Now this V32 update is rolling out slowly to all the headsets, so make sure to update yours as well. But besides just a software update, the Oculus Quest 2 also got a recent hardware upgrade as well. And that brings us to our next story, and that is that the Oculus Quest 2 is returning to stores now as a 128GB model. Now the original Quest 2 base model started at 64GB, but recently was pulled off most store shelves and were also not available from the Oculus Store themselves. Now there were many rumors that it was because of the Oculus Quest 2 voluntary recall due to the many skin irritation issues with the foam pad that came with the headset. Now Oculus has replaced all of these foam interfaces with new silicone ones to prevent these skin irritation issues. But there were also rumors that Oculus was trying to upgrade their base model from 64GB to 128GB. And just like we talked about in previous episodes as well, it now turns out that the Oculus Quest 2 is really back in store with the base model starting at 128GB. And the best part of course being that it still has the price tag of $299. This means that you now basically got double the storage for the same price. And for those who want, I'll leave a link below. However, the larger 256GB model didn't see any storage upgrade or price reduction and is still at $399. But of course now also comes with a silicone interface. But even so, this storage upgrade is great news for the Oculus Quest 2, especially for people that were still thinking about buying a headset. But besides the Oculus Quest, we also have some other crazy news coming from the PlayStation VR games. And that is that some of the best PlayStation VR games are 50% or more discounted right now during a huge summer sale. Now, PlayStation is known to sometimes do these crazy summer sales in which they discount one of the best games for 50% or up. And this year it will also include the VR games. And as you can see on the list on the screen, it includes some amazing games like Astrobot Rescue Mission that is 50% discounted for just $10, to even games like Blood and Truth that got discounted from $40 to $20 as well. Or one of the newer games like Marvel Iron Man VR that also got discounted to $20. But there's many more must-have VR games that got a huge discount. So if you are looking to pick up some new games for your PlayStation VR, this is the time to do it. So make sure you don't miss those before the summer sales end again. And it's great to see that PlayStation is also using these summer sales not only for their PlayStation games, but is now also including the PlayStation VR games as well. But now on to one of the most crazy news of this week that could really have an impact on VR and its future, is that the owner of TikTok is considering to buy the VR headset maker Pico. Now the reason why this news is so crazy is because the Pico headsets are basically the Quest 2s from China. Now as some of you might know, is that the Oculus Quest 2 is not allowed to be sold inside of China, and this is for example because of the restriction of Facebook in China itself. Now in China, they do sell this headset that is called the Pico Neo 3. And it is basically on paper the exact same thing as the Quest. It is also a 6 degrees of headset and is rocking the exact same XR2 chipset. Now even though the Quest 2 is not allowed to be sold in China, it is also that the Pico Neo 3 is not sold to consumers outside of China either. But this might all change with this big news that ByteDance, who are the owners of the social platform that you know as TikTok, is thinking about taking over and acquiring the VR headset makers behind the Pico Neo headsets. And the reason why this is such big news, because if TikTok really is able to acquire the Pico VR headsets, they might then also start selling these Pico Neo 3s outside of China. And that would mean that we would finally get a true Quest 2 competitor. And if this happens, that both of these companies will have to work so hard to make sure that the next headset will then be better than the ones that the other company is making. The reason why this will be so great is because of this competition. Facebook will be forced to keep improving their Quest headsets. While right now, the Oculus Quest 2 is basically spiraling out of control with no real standalone competitor anywhere near in sight. This still doesn't mean that the deal is already through and that these Pico Neo 3s are actually coming to the rest of the world. And of course, when there's more news about this deal, I'll make sure to cover it on this channel as well. But besides from the Quest 2 and the possibility of the Pico Neo 3 as a Quest 2 competitor, there are also still some other companies in the VR space. And one of those is the Valve Index. The Valve Index is already 2 years after its launch and it still costs $1,000. But even so, the demand for Valve's headset is surprisingly still as strong as ever. Now the Valve Index launched back on June 28th in 2019. Now back then, the headset was the top end of high-end VR headsets, with using an insane tracking system, but also including some next-gen VR controllers. But it did have a hefty price tag of $1,000, and even 2 years after its launch, it's still at that same price point. But the interesting thing to see is that even after 2 years, the headsets are still selling at a considerable pace. With that said, they even became the third most used headset on Steam, second only to the much less expensive Oculus Rift S and of course the Oculus Quest 2. But as you can see in this graph, besides Facebook being almost 61% of the total market share, Valve now owns over 16.2%, which is almost 2% more than HTC does. And you do have to keep in mind that the Valve Index is the only headset made by Valve, while the HTC has over 5 headsets that combined is 14.6%. Now this is very surprising to see. Now even so, the question can be asked, how long can Valve keep this up? Because even though the Valve Index was cutting edge technology 2 years ago and maybe worth $1,000, the longer and longer it takes, the question can be asked, is it still worth it to buy it in 2021 and in the years to come? And we have had some leaks and news from Valve themselves that they might be working on a standalone headset, but there's no guarantee that we will see any of that come into fruition in the next year. So I do really hope to see that Valve maybe comes out with some news soon about the possibility of a standalone Valve Index at a much lower price cost. But of course, we'll just have to see and wait.